Hello there, this is Leck, looking a little woolier than normal. I'm letting this grow out so I can shape it a little differently. But anyway, I'm here in Texas, about to be returning to Nicaragua. We're at a little cabin on Lake Granbury near Fort Worth. It belongs to my sister. This is where we stay when we are in the States, in our home base here. The artwork behind me is by our son, David Heflin. He won a National Addy Award, gold award in 2011 when he was a student at North Texas. He's a sea turtle. The series, which has a few other pieces in it, is called Oil and Water Don't Mix. And it was a promotional series for environmental consciousness that he did after the BP oil spill a few years back. So anyway, we're here in a very comfortable, wonderful little place that we enjoy calling home when we're in Texas. But I have a need to get back to Nicaragua. And so some of you know, most of you probably know that Nicaragua is in a great deal of turmoil right now. We came to Texas on the 6th of April, and on the 18th and 19th of April, protests erupted against the government there. Peaceful protests, and in reaction to two things. One was an environmental disaster in the southern part of the country, where the largest nature reserve in Central America is. There was a fire, and many students were sensitized to the devastation of that fire and the government's perceived inept response to it. And they were agitated. And then a little later, the government announced that that they were going to change the Social Security system, and they were going to diminish benefits and require increased inputs. And this was a tipping point. Because the students are already sensitized, it was sensitive to them. And because the business community was going to be greatly impacted, this became very sensitive to them. And those combined forces merged to create a huge nationwide reaction. Shortly thereafter, because of protests, President Daniel Ortega announced that he would withdraw that proposal. But dissatisfaction has continued, and the response has been violent in some cases, in many cases. Most protests have been peaceful, although they are aggressive. There are roadblocks all across the country. In cities, there are numerous roadblocks made up by citizens protesting the current regime, and in the city of Matagalpa, where we live, for example, and in Leon, a major university town, in Managua, of course. And the most brutal, violent encounters have been in the city of Masaya and the community there of Monimbo, which is an old Indian community. And all in all, civil rights organizations say that by this time, nearly 150 people have died, almost all of them protesters, a few police officers. On May 30th, there was a big Mother's Day march, and it was done in honor of the mothers which is Nicaraguan Mother's Day. It was done in honor of the mothers who had lost their children in April, called the Mothers of April. And so one of the major highways, the major north-south highway in Managua that flows between Managua and Masaya and then onto Granada, was filled with blue and white flags, the national flag, marchers. Some people say as many as 200,000. Wouldn't surprise me at all from the pictures. I would say it has to be well above 100,000 protesters. As they approached the new National Baseball Stadium, some reports say that some of the protesters began to approach the stadium. And at that time, snipers from atop the stadium and possibly some other nearby high-rise buildings took aim and killed several protesters randomly, no one in particular, but headshots. So it's bad. It's really bad. And I want you to know that this has affected Pontis, but it has not stopped us. We are very grateful that in God's providence, last year we were able to train 5 new technicians who live with and near the farms that we minister to and serve through Ernesto, our chief agronomist, and now through his technicians, his helpers. And so even though Ernesto, who lives in Messiah, the most volatile location, can't leave his home for very long at all for fear of leaving it vulnerable and leaving his family vulnerable, he's able to stay in touch with the technicians. And so on the island of Ometepe, where we have 3 technicians, we're able to continue to visit the farms. They're continuing their process of gathering data on the farms to know how much land is in cultivation, what their productivity levels are, et cetera, and creating report cards that we study on a regular basis in order to assess and understand our impact. And they are actually capable of teaching. I mean, Ernesto's used them to do some teaching under his supervision, but they're probably capable of more than we've released them to. Well, I know they are. So we'll be releasing them more and more under these current difficult circumstances. And then up in Nueva Esperanza near Altumba, where we have 2 training locations, Sergio Hernandez is there near us. He can't even get back and forth to Matagalpa, which he does on a regular basis normally. He can't even do that because of blockages and the buses aren't running, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but he's there, and we communicate with him by phone, and he's doing his work in the field, and so we're continuing, and we want you to know that, but mostly we want our and the reason I'm going back is we want the people to know that we have not run scared. We were in Texas when this occurred. We were cautious about going back and the timing of it and so forth. And so I'm going back by myself. I'm going to leave Cynthia here in Texas. I'm going to go back by myself and make sure I can negotiate the travel that is needed for me to do my job. And I'll not be driving at night. You know, I'll have to stay over when I go someplace. Some things of that nature will change, but I've got to get face to face with our farmers and our students and say, we have not forgot you, we have not given up. We believe there are brighter days for Nicaragua ahead. And when we are able to pass through this very difficult time, we believe there's a great promise in the nation of Nicaragua, and we're here to see through the task that we believe God has given us, and joining our hands to yours, I will say to them, and helping you to become more productive and working with you to make Nicaragua a more prosperous and productive nation. So we believe we have God's promises, and we're going to walk on them. Others would say we have just a great vision, and we're going to walk in that. Whatever you want to call it doesn't really matter to me. We appreciate your encouragement, your support, and your staying with us. And I just wanted you to have this report and update to let you know that we're just going to keep on doing what we can do with what we have. We're still about $30,000 or so behind in giving to fill out our yearly budget, which is still a tight budget. There's more that we can do as we have resources. We're going to do what we can with what God provides through generous people like yourselves. And if you would help us at this time, we'd be grateful. Brad will attach some information to this newsletter report, and he will let you know how you can do that if you want to participate. We'll thank you for it, and we'll look forward to seeing you again and reporting later at the progress that continues to be made in Nicaragua. Thank you, and God bless. Bye.